This is a 2025 Harley Davidson Street Glide, and this is a 2025 Indian Chieftain 112 Power Plus. In this video, I'm going to take both these bikes out for a 150-mile ride and try to determine which is the better bike. Let's get into it. First off, before we get started, I want to say thank you to Indian Motorcycle for letting me use one of their corporate demo bikes for the last few weeks, and it's allowed me to make a video like this. And also thank you to Chippewa Falls Harley Davidson for allowing me use of a brand new Street Glide for this comparison video. They're a dealership here in Chippewa Falls. They got a great facility. They actually have a really nice inventory level right now and some really cool bikes. Great staff. They were showing me stuff on this bike that I didn't know existed, which has opened my eye a little bit. So they're knowledgeable staff. They got a great service and parts department as well. So if you're in the Chippewa Falls area, definitely check them out. Tell them that Zach sent you. So with that aside, on to the review. All right, so the age-old, we're back to the age-old debate of Indian and Harley. We went quite a few years without that being a real thing, but now that Indian's back and in full force, we're able to do this. So you know, these bikes have a lot of similarities, but the way that they get to them, there's actually some more differences, even though the things are pretty similar. So things that these bikes both have: Apple CarPlay. Things that these bikes both have is going to be the big V-twin engines making good power. You're going to have dual rotor brakes up front. You're going to have a fork-mounted fairing. You're going to have a nice low seat height. And nice luggage capacity in the saddlebags. So they're going to go about making power a little bit differently. Engine has a fully water-cooled engine, where Harley is still running an air-cooled engine but with liquid-cooled heads on it. Even though the Indian has a 112 cubic inch engine, it's still putting out 126 horsepower versus a stock 117 putting out 105. Now in the end, horsepower isn't everything, and the way that these bikes ride and handle and everything else is a bigger concern to me, because really 105 horsepower is still a pretty good number. The other thing about these that they go about differently is the front suspension. You have an inverted fork on the Indian, basically borrowed from the Challenger. You still have your traditional fork up front on the Street Glide here, but you know what? We're going to go take both of these bikes out and we're going to go over some of the finer details while we're riding them. So let's take this Harley out. We're going to put about 150 miles on it today and tell you what I think of this guy first. All right, we just fired this guy up and we're looking to see, look at that, Apple CarPlay. My phone is in my pocket, which, you know what, it's warm. I don't need it in there. I got this awesome tray. We're just going to set it in there. Wireless Apple CarPlay. First thing I'm going to say, Indian, what the frick are you thinking? This is awesome. This is, I'm such a dork and a nerd, but that is such a nice little thing. So we're going to be running this thing. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Now, they gave me a nice rundown, and I'm going to see if I remember how to do all this stuff. We are going to go ride modes right there. We're in sport. I want to do custom. I think this is the coolest thing. And I can go there to change my settings. No. Custom engine map. I want sport, baby. Hell yeah. And then engine braking. You know what? I don't know if this is my old ass gloves or what, but we're just going to make it easy. Base is fine. Throttle response. I don't remember sport on Harley being all that bad. We're going to go to -1. Traction control. Sport. Okay, give it a little slip is good. ABS. We're going to go road. That's fine. So the biggest takeaway on there is that you can change your throttle response, because that's my biggest complaint with sport mode. Hit that back button there. See, now this is where I get lost. Okay, there we go. Apple CarPlay, we're back. All right. So the more I use this, the more I got taught. That's a nice system. We're going to kick her into gear and we're off. We got a 3/4 fuel tank. I'm sure I'll be filling this guy up. This bike currently has 56 miles on it, so they are legitimately giving me a brand new bike. Thank you, Chippewa Falls Harley. You guys are awesome. Thank you for helping me and supporting me in this way. All right, we're off. I decided to start recording again in town because there's something I wanted to bring up now, and that's first off this hill hold assist. Now, I didn't know that Harley Davidson already had that, and it's a really cool thing that the feature on here. Indian has it on that 112. That's the only way to get that mode, is if you get the 112 in either a Challenger, Chieftain, Roadmaster, Pursuit, any of that. No other bike offers it. It's the same across the board for them. On the Indian, it works even if you have it in neutral or in gear. This Harley, in the Harley, it depends on the model of bike you have. My understanding is some of these bikes, like the Street Glide here, does not have a kickstand sensor. So the bikes that do not have a kickstand sensor, the hill hold will only work in gear. And I'll say it like this, that kind of, in my opinion, takes away a little bit of the usability. Not fully, but a little bit of it, because usually when I'm going to use it, it's if I'm going to adjust something quick on me and I want to use both hands, and I want to hold the bike in place. Now, not always. That's definitely not a 100% thing, but the fact that this has it is nice, and it's a surprise to me. The other aspect to that is, like I said in another one of my videos on that Chieftain, it feels, on the Indian, when you release the clutch, it feels a little clunky, like the brakes are holding it, almost like a line lock, and then it finally releases. And that could be because of the way the clutch is adjusted. I think that clutch is adjusted a little loose. This thing here, I'll try to use it right here if we can hurry up and get to a stop. When I take off, I'm going to use it anyways, even though we're going. We're going to hold it, holding. All right. It's super smooth and it feels really natural. It doesn't feel like I'm fighting the bike. So again, that could be an adjustment on the Indian, but it does it works perfectly on this Harley Davidson here. So we got to get outside of town here and get to the good roads. So for me, it'll be a little bit boring. For you, we're going to get right to it. All right, we're getting onto the highway now. Fortunately, I can't really open this puppy up with the minivan in front of me, but I figure we might as well talk about wind protection right away. We're going to close this guy off and see what this fairing does with this shorter windscreen. Just a side edit note, later on in the ride I noticed that it was much better to actually have that vent open when you were at high speeds. Let's get up to an actual speed. Alright, so I seem to have a different memory of the last one I rode, and it could be because the windshield was different. This is a stock windshield and all the stock wind protection, and this does seem a little bit louder than what I remember the last Street Glide. Wearing the same helmet and everything, but excuse me, it definitely seems like I got a lot more wind noise, and I think that could be remedied by just a little bit different windshield, like a Clockworks, because I like the low profile. I just want a little bit more kick up of the wind. But let's see how we got for passing power. 6th gear, no downshift. Not bad. You know, it's down a little bit on horsepower compared to the 112 Indian, and I can tell there's a difference there, but it has enough torque that it's still, for passing power, it'll just pull you right through. So maybe down on power a little bit, but I'm very happy. It still pulls better than my 111. My 111 has cams and everything in it, so not bad. I just left the Mondovi area. I wanted to hit the Highway 88, which is a really fun road, but before that, I just got onto 88 off of 37, and then hit Double Z. Double Z is a road that I've used in the past to try to get some drone shots, which is what I'm going to probably do here, but also because it's a little bit rougher, and I wanted to see, I mean, 88 is such a beautiful, nice, like pretty fresh blacktop. I wanted to see how this bike does in a more rural road setting. Now I've already gone through a few of those, just not on camera. So this part of the road isn't all that bad right now. But I will say that so far, I guess my opinion is about the same as it was before, where I said earlier, the suspension seems firmer, probably less travel than the Indian still, but not bad. I'd say it's pretty comfortable overall. The seating position I'm in lends itself well to everything that's going on, so I'm not all that uncomfortable on any of these bumps or rougher roads. The bike actually does a pretty good job of you know, keeping everything compliant and comfortable. I think the Indian does ride a little bit better, but this has a sportier, with those bumps there, maybe a little bit much, but this definitely has a sportier feel to the suspension. It just has an overall more firm feeling than what the Chieftain has. So it doesn't ride bad. I'd say it rides really, actually pretty decent, but I think the Indian is just a little bit superior. Handling wise, the bike is very eager to lay down. So just like the Indian, this thing is it's a nice handling bike. I haven't hit any fun corners. We're gonna save that for when we get to 88. But so far, I'm enjoying my time here on the Street Glide. We're gonna start getting the twisties, not where these bikes are generally thought to thrive, but these newer baggers, they like to lean over. We're gonna take it kind of easy on this guy. It is a brand new bike that someone will eventually own. Man, look at this road. Oh, it's such a good road, and it's in such good condition. Coming down from this, heading the opposite way, is awesome too, because you have the nice view of the valley in front of you. Right now it's behind us, and it doesn't matter which way you're going on this road, it's awesome. Oh, that dude's over the center line. Thanks, dickhead. So one thing I'm noticing, remember I put this in that custom ride mode, and it is the sport mode, so it gives me the full tune, but it makes the throttle less touchy. The Indian I've been riding in standard mode, so it's less touchy. I don't believe it changes the tune in the Indian. I'm pretty certain it just changes the way the throttle mapping is. But I will say, I can definitely notice a power difference coming out of corners. This is not bad. It's not. You know, I give it a little bit more throttle and I'm sure it's fine. I'm just used to the way the Indian responds. Oh man, this road's so good. Look at this valley. Oh my God. And now imagine this in fall when it's all yellow and orange and green mixed in, and I mean, it's just so beautiful. We're starting to get a little bit of color change here, but this valley in the fall time, this whole area of the state is just unbelievably beautiful. And you can enjoy fun twisty roads like this on these style of bikes. I mean, Harley has really gotten it down so these bikes handle well, and I'm having a great time on these roads with this bike. This is not what most people think of when they think of going out and running their bagger. A lot of people are thinking, hey, these are highway queens, you know. Now I could absolutely rail corners with this thing and have fun. So 88 continues on and it still stays gorgeous, but I like to take this road here. This is County Road U. It is a little bit rougher for sure, but where I get to go from this road is pretty awesome. So, and we get to test the suspension of the Street Glide a little bit more. Now I have to be a little bit more careful because this could definitely be a little bit more dirty than 88 is. I've definitely come across parts where there's all of a sudden gravel or crap, you know, in the corners, so I definitely don't want to be that guy. It's not a race. We're here to have fun. Now the suspension on this is still doing a decent job, but I don't have quite the confidence in the corners on these roads as I do on the Indian, because the Indian just rides a little better than this. And part of that nerve too is probably because I don't want to wreck the bike, but I'm sure if I got used to it, had more time on one of these, I'd be hitting them a little harder. But let's be real, most people that buy these bikes probably aren't riding them that way. I'm just here to show you that you can. And quite frankly, you should. Here's a straight enough road. We're not going to clutch dump it or anything crazy. We're just going to 15 miles an hour, let's call it, then we're just going to full throttle it, okay? 1, 2, 3, go. And I assume that we're still in the same mode that I thought we were. Oh, we're not. We were in road mode. So now we're in my my custom mode, I believe. I guess I don't notice much of a difference there. Switch back to road mode. We'll get straightened out. So my last Street Glide video, there are plenty of people that were saying, hey man, you were in this mode, you were in that mode, you weren't in the right mode. Well, I was under the assumption that whatever mode I left the bike in, at least today I was, that whatever mode I left the bike in, it would stay in that mode, but I guess not. So I thought I was in this custom mode that I made in the beginning, but since I stopped a couple times and shut the bike off, it reset itself. So we're gonna have to do another acceleration pull in sport mode. That way there's no question about it what mode I was in, and everyone can see. Car coming. Everyone can see what mode I was in. What were we trying to do? 15 miles an hour? Let's do 13. Screw it. $85 by that sign. I wasn't sure how sharp this corner was, so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of time to slow down. But I think it feels a little bit stronger in sport mode for sure. I know they took the traction control back, so when I hit second gear I heard a little bit of a tire chirp. Yeah, it pulls pretty dang good actually. Sport mode definitely makes a difference in that. I'll have to do the same thing with the Indian then, and see what it does, you know. So I stopped here to take a quick breather, and I wanted to update you as things are fresh in my head. So I came to this spot here. I took some back roads that I actually was riding on yesterday with the Chieftain. Now that'll be a separate video that I'm making, but I noticed something, and I've talked about it a little bit through here, and let's just get this out of the way. The suspension. After hitting these last bit of roads that are even rougher, I will say the suspension on this guy is about 90 to 95% there. Meaning that most of the time, this is perfectly good. I feel like it's very adequate, and at sometimes surprising. However, some of the deeper and the sharper edged, more abrupt bumps that you hit, it's still kind of harsh. So I hit a few of them out here on these back county roads, and it reminded me like, okay, yep, that's right. This is still not quite there where Indian level is. But I'd still say, I would not be disappointed in this. This bike does ride very good. It's just not quite at the same level that the Power Plus platform is from Indian right now. Now, let's also talk about the engine performance, because that's the other big glaring thing. On paper, there's about a 21 horsepower difference between this bike and the Power Plus 112. I don't notice it so much today, especially now that I realize that these ride modes, have so much of a variation in between them. Normally the Indian I ride in a standard mode, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is from old training is that the modes on Indian only really change the throttle mapping of the throttle. That's it. You're still able to get all the power. Now that may have changed, and I'll find out tomorrow if you'll for sure. But this thing here, the modes are very distinctly different. And in the Indian world, I ride in standard mode, and I'm fine with it. This thing here, I've been riding now the last leg of this in that custom mode, now that I realize that it doesn't stay in whatever mode that the bike was last in. And the power of the bike is really, really good. The fact that I can adjust the sensitivity of that throttle, and also the engine braking and all that stuff is awesome. Indian doesn't have that. They have 3 modes, and that's it. You cannot custom create your own and take the good parts from this one and the good parts from this one and make like the perfect ride mode for you in the Chieftain, but you can on this Harley. And I'll tell you, I was a little worried because I'm like, the Indian's going to have the technology side of it. But learning what this guy has in it, now that the guys over at Chippewa Falls Harley gave me a little bit nicer tour of it, I think that they're at the very least equal. But let me tell you where this thing shines. This thing shines with the fact that you have adjustable modes. That's an A+ there. This thing also shines with the fact that this has a wireless Apple CarPlay system. And it is seamless. This thing connects really, really well. I don't have to worry or wait for anything. I turn on my my headset, my phone is on, it pings, or it connects, and nothing. I haven't had an issue with it at all. I haven't been wondering what the heck is going on. It works really, really nicely. And then you can also adjust with that internally here, where the audio is going. I can, the first time I was using it, the audio was playing through the speakers. I'm like, well, no, I want it through my headset. And I found in the menus how to get to that. But there's so much customizing that you can do with this infotainment system that they have on here. I know that there's people out there that are purists that don't necessarily like this screen. They want analog gauges. But I'm going to tell you this. This bike, I think, is awesome with the screen because they executed it so nicely. There's so much customization in it. The fact that the screen looks as good as it does. Like, I don't think it's OLED or anything like that. And maybe it is, I don't know. But the graphical quality out of it, the contrast of it is really, really well done. The fact that the layouts, the different layouts that you can choose, that I love that. This layout that they have me in, which I think he put me in standard, it's the speedometer and everything is right over here, and maybe it's actually the sport layout, I think, actually. So the speedometer is on the right hand and the left hand side, and my Apple CarPlay is on the right-hand side. Now, one thing that I thought would be a detractor, and it might be for certain people in certain situations, but this bike, we're turning on the settings mode. We'll turn that back off. This bike here has does not have the navigation activated. So this has the capability to do navigation, but it would cost you $350 to purchase it so it works. And then I think it's a one-time fee. I don't know if it updates or not. I was wrong with that on the last video, so and I might be a little bit wrong. So please, if I'm wrong with anything, correct me in the comments, you know. But this does not have that navigation active, so you would have to at least pay the $350 fee or whatever it is. With Apple CarPlay and the fact that it's wireless, that I don't think you need it, at least most of the time. Now, if you're out in a remote area where you don't have cell coverage, yeah, then you don't have your navigation, and that kind of sucks. But you know, for most people, I think that this would work well, unless you're also an Android user. And if you don't wear a helmet or don't want to get a headset, the way to get around that, because the only way Apple CarPlay works is if you have a headset connected to this. It's a MetaHawk or something like that that you can plug into these with your phone, or plug into that dongle, and it acts as if there was a headset on there, so they can still access your Apple CarPlay and navigation. So even though it doesn't have navigation right out of the box, I don't think that's a detractor. If you really need it, pay the little bit of money. If you don't, save yourself some money and, you know, use your Apple CarPlay and, you know, get a headset, wear a helmet, or just get one of those little MetaHawk things. They're like 30, 40 bucks, whatever they are. So technology wise, when going into this, I thought for sure that the Harley was going to be lacking some, even though it had the screen. But the fact that it has all the customization, I think that it's not at a disadvantage. Control layout on this guy. That's another thing that I actually like on this. Even though there's a lot of buttons here, once you just need a little bit of time to get used to it. I like the fact that I can change my modes on the fly. It's right there. Click, click, click. I find the mode that I want. Boom. I don't have to do anything. I really don't even have to take my hands off the bars. If I want to turn on my traction control, it's a button right here. Hold that thing, it goes off. If I want to turn back on, whatever, click that. Cruise button, yeah, it's pretty simple to use. So is the Indian. I think they're par for the course there. The rest of the control layout for like how you navigate through your screens and stuff, this toggle system is pretty nice. I think it's set up pretty well. So control layout, I'd say, is probably a slight edge to Harley Davidson. And then of course, let's not forget to mention they are metal casings, which I wish Indian went back to that. So with those few things being said, there's one more thing I should probably put out there. Yes, I have a brand preference. I'm an Indian guy. That's I don't think that's a secret, especially if you've seen any of my other videos. But I'm really trying to give this bike a fair shake. And I'll tell you that it has surprised me in ways that I didn't think that it would today. And I would not be disappointed if this bike was in my garage or one very similar to it. I might pick a little bit different color, but still, black and chrome, you can't go wrong with that. So for as good as this bike is, let's see if the Indian is actually up to par or maybe better. All right, so we're on the Indian. I came in to work here to wash it real quick, since it was kind of filthy. But all right, we're gonna start out with this. I've never done the Apple CarPlay on one of these before, and the way the phone fits in there sucks. And then, since I've never used it before, I have to do this and unlock the phone, so now it'll work and I can allow it. So hopefully I want it to do that again. But the way that this fits in there is just dumb. I don't like it. Quite honestly, it's an afterthought. So I hope 2026 brings us good stuff, because this sucks. This is really dumb. Don't like it. Now will it close? Okay, good. All right. I'm hard on the Indian because I care. That's why I'm like one of those parents. Let's get out of here. Let's hit the road. All right, I know I said I was going to try to do the exact same route. Starting out, I'm going to take a little bit different way, just because where I started actually from. I should probably start going to a gas station, but I think I have enough fuel to get down to Mondovi. Anyways, the first thing I want to address is this Apple CarPlay thing on here. Because of the screen, Okay, the screen is a much smaller screen. When I have Apple CarPlay going, that's all I have is Apple CarPlay. So now, remember what I said about the way that buttons are hard to get to, or I mean, modes are hard to get to in certain ways. If you're using Apple CarPlay, let's say we're on our maps thing. I will say that this touchscreen seems a little bit more responsive than the Harley. With my gloves on yesterday, I was having some issues with it. So now I gotta go. I got this screen, which is my normal Apple CarPlay screen. It's smaller. It's harder to kind of see. I like having my speedometer digitally. So I lose that now because this is full screen Apple CarPlay. But now let's say I want to switch my modes, because right now I'm in standard mode. So I gotta go like this. Go there, go to Indian. And since, you know, my other screen is this one. Here, let's get back up to the screen. But the main screen I use is this one, and I have my music there, my map, and then I have Apple CarPlay to click onto, so I can get to Apple CarPlay easier. I got to drop this down versus having my modes there is what I'm getting at. Just talking about how responsive that screen was, that didn't look good there. Now I can get to my modes. Then I want to go back to Apple CarPlay. Okay, there, now we are. Hey, at least I wasn't distracted at all. You know? So my point is, yes, the Harley had a little bit more buttons on the and everything, and some might say, well, gee, that you know, this is a nicer, neater appearance. And you're right. At a quick glance, this is nice, and you do have most of your functions there, but certain things are a little bit more difficult. So I guess I'd like to see that change made. You know, in 2026 would be awesome. I don't know if they're going to do that, but you know, otherwise, let's say since we're on the highway already, the fact that I have a power windscreen, I can move it up and down. I'm already way more comfortable, you know, as far as wind stuff. I don't, my helmet isn't nearly as loud as it was yesterday while riding the Harley. And I still, it's a pretty warm and muggy day again today. Hopefully I don't run into any rain. But I still feel like I have ample amount of airflow to cool me off. Not quite as much hitting the helmet, and I'm not catching as much up top here because of the windshield. But if I wanted to, I could just lower this down. All of a sudden I got all sorts of air coming through my lid. So this should keep the bugs off my shield. Yeah, I had a lot of bugs on my face shield yesterday. This should do a better job of keeping them off of me. It's already doing a better job of keeping the wind off of me. So I'd say just having that power windscreen makes a big difference. Now, I do want to say the Harley, I should have had, when I was on the highway, I should have had that flap open. It is actually slightly better, but this is way better all around, okay? So I think that the overall faring with that power windscreen is superior here. So let's get into the back roads and try to replicate what we did yesterday. All right, so real quick, I want to show this hill hold thing, which I don't have anything that tells me now that I'm in Apple CarPlay mode, but I have it engaged. I'm in neutral. I don't really need it right here right now, but it's kind of nice. But watch, I have not adjusted the clutch. I should have. See how the bike kind of hunkered down? So I'm trying to work that out and see if I can, if it's just me, or, you know, I do think that the amount of play in this clutch is too much. I really do. We need to have a little bit of play, but not that much. And it would let out at a different location relative to the switch if I had it adjusted right. So I think that's what the issue is. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know. But I do like the fact that I can use the dang thing when I'm in neutral. So and again, Harley offers that. It's just in different model of bikes. Anything that has a sensor for the kickstand. So but I was in a spot right there, so I wanted to showcase that because I know I talked about it on the Harley. So now let's get to Highway 88 because I cannot wait to take this thing on some super smooth, fun, twisty roads. So We just got getting a few drone shots. This is the same road I used yesterday, and then I had the drone actually follow me down this road. But the issue that I'm having is there's a bunch of trucks hauling stuff. So I'm going to try to get in front of this guy. It's right behind me. And I don't trust the drone following me with these trucks coming. Because most likely what'll happen is truck will hit it. And that'll be bad. So we're close to 88 anyways. But this is a nice little side road to get there. Now, inadvertently, there we go. Now it's connecting, I think, or not. My headset's on. I've been having issues with a couple times so far with the connectivity. Now it's working. So I don't know what's going on here. I'll be frank, with how small this screen is, and since Indian has its own navigation system anyways, I don't really see a value in the Apple CarPlay here. At least for what I do. It the system, I think, is fine without it, and it's easier to get through menus without doing extra steps now. You know, I'm not... Let's see if this button does anything. Yeah, I see this button, the navigation button over here, since you don't have a whole lot of options. It's, you know, I have to go further into the screen to access things. So until they get a big layout, I'm not really a fan of this layout for Apple CarPlay. I can't get to my modes easy. I can't do any of that stuff. So let's say I want to put it into sport mode again. Go there. Drop down here. There we go. Now we're in sport mode. Now I go get that, go back to Apple CarPlay. Just extra steps, you know what I mean? Whoa, throttle's way different. Now we're getting into the fun part, so. But I don't like the throttle sensitivity in sport mode. I like in the Harley that you can change that so I can have, you know, the sport mode power, but I don't need to have the jerkier throttle. Now, I don't think that Indian kills horsepower in standard mode. I think it just changes the way the throttle's mapped. I could be wrong. Either way, standard mode here puts out, you know, it feels stronger than the 117. Now we're talking a 21 horsepower difference. So now the bike does rev a little bit higher. I don't remember where it makes its peak horsepower number, but still, this one pulls a little stronger than 117 for sure. But that isn't the most like compelling thing to me necessarily. Power's nice for sure. The fact that this thing rides as well as it does is the most important thing. Now, as a whole experience, I am more comfortable on this bike than I was on the Street Glide. I have a little bit more leg room. You know, I'm able to stretch out more. These floorboards are definitely bigger than the Harley one, so I have more options on where my foot placement is. And I'm not an overly tall guy. 5'11" is what at least how tall I was when I was in the Army. Maybe I shrunk a little bit in a couple of years, but you know, so I'm not an overly tall guy either way. And I just have so much room in this cockpit. I like it. And now we're getting into the fun stuff. Highway 88. This is, oh man, I love this. I love this road. And I feel a little bit more confident with the Indian. Part of that, again, was probably because, you know, I don't want to wreck a dealership bike. I don't want to wreck a corporate bike either, but I have more time on these, so I feel a little bit more at home. And the other thing too, I feel more comfortable on this bike sitting in it, so that gives me more confidence when doing this. Man, this is such a good road. Hugging that corner a little bit much, but that's okay. Again, we're not setting lap times, we're just out having fun. Yeah, this bike feels right at home. That's what I'm afraid of today. For whatever reason, there seems like there's slightly more traffic out here, and I've experienced some of these big trucks cutting cutting into the other lane. I just want to make sure I have an escape plan in case I need it. Such a good section of road here. Let me know what you guys think of the Best Roads of Wisconsin series. You know, I've actually recorded a few of them, and I planned on doing them over the winter. But I don't know if there's really that much interest in it. You know, for you folks that'll maybe never come out this way, it's not that big of a deal. But how many of you folks are somewhat in the area that might want to know some of these hidden gems that you may well otherwise not know about? Let me know below in the comment what your thought is on that. Alright, we're going to take this up here a little ways, and then we're going to take a left onto, I don't remember whatever county road that is, XUT, whatever the hell it is. Just like we did yesterday with the Harley. That road is a little bit bumpier. I mean, this is definitely super smooth. This blacktop is, is fairly fresh. A few years old, but it's in impeccable condition. Yeah, County U. That's where we're going to turn off on. Take the same path as we did with the Street Glide. But I do got to find a spot to get more drone shots. So find a spot that has very little traffic, because I have that drone follow me and it flies itself, and it does have accident avoidance. I just don't want it to hit a car, because that would be a really bad day for both me and the dude in the car. But mainly me, because that would be expensive with the drone and expensive with the damage to the vehicle. So we're gonna find a good spot. But because of this suspension, and because of the way this bike reacts to everything, I have more confidence taking these corners on these, crappier roads. This bike does a good job of staying calm and collected, even when it gets kind of uneven and bumpy. So I really like the way that this thing handles. It's super impressive. Super impressive. Another wonderful day weather-wise. I'm hoping that we stay dry, but right now I don't care. This is a blast. We're gonna lower this down to get a little bit more air. It might get louder for you guys, sorry. So nice. Get that back up. It's getting kind of loud. Having that power windscreen, I'll tell you, is a pretty nice deal. If I need to cool off, I lower it down. I get a blast of air to the face. If I need it to be quieter for whatever reason, especially in the, since we're filming, just raise it up. Such a nice feature that they've had forever. Now here's the thing for everyone that's like, hey, can I disable that blind spot and everything else? I'll tell you what, when you're doing this kind of riding, you don't even know that that stuff's there, you know? And honestly, in my opinion, when you need it, then it's there, and it is actually nice to have. And where the technology part of this, like the screen and all that, doesn't matter, is right back there. You know, going through those twisties, concentrating on the road. As long as my music is playing and stuff like that, and I have some sort of navigation if I'm on a new road so I don't get lost, that's really what I need. So I'm forgetting about the inadequacies of this layout right now while I'm hitting the curves. And what I will say, the superior chassis of this Chieftain, and of course the superior power, that's all I'm thinking about. And all of a sudden this bike is just hands down, you know, the better bike in my opinion when it comes to going out and cruising the back roads. It has its own built-in navigation, so if you actually get lost and don't have cell service, it has its own navigation to save you. You have Apple CarPlay, which I think is clunky in here, but it has it. The Harley has a nicer layout as far as the wireless setup. But the stuff that actually matters when I'm out riding, this does a little bit better. Power-wise, handling-wise, ride comfort-wise. Traction control kicked in third gear right there. I did a similar thing with the Harley, I think at about this point yesterday, so had to do it with the Chieftain, you know. And this one, what's the 112? Cranks. The 108's a great engine too. It's a 4 horsepower difference between the two of them. So realistically, you know, I can't feel the difference that much between a 108 and a 112. But this thing really does crank. Oh yeah. So I've had this bike for a week now. So I've done more than just riding it today. And what I'll tell you is that until I rode the Harley, I didn't really have that big of a gripe with the navigation screen and how the modes were set and everything. Riding that Harley enlightened me to some of the shortcomings that this bike has, okay? However, riding this right after riding the Harley showed me some more of the shortcomings that that Harley has. And a lot of it has to do with the actual riding experience. Engine performance, which is a given in this case. The 112 just has 20 some more horsepower than the 117 does. And no getting around that. Without spending a bunch of money on cams and tuning and air intake and exhaust and all that good stuff. But the other aspect is ride quality. I thought the Harley was very good, and it still is very good. This is just much better. And I always knew that these rode good. I just actually thought that after riding the Harley yesterday, that the Harley was pretty close to what this is. And it's after riding this right after it, it's just not there. But the Harley does handle nice. It's a brand that people respect. It's a brand that has a huge owner group and has a big dealer network. You know, and those are reasons that Harley guys will usually point out, hey, the Harley's superior for these reasons. But I'll tell you what, Indian's growing its dealer network and it's growing its audience. And as more people take one of these out for a ride and experience what they have to offer, you're probably going to see it grow even more. Ultimately, regardless of which way you go, they're both great bikes, and competition is good for everyone, especially the consumer. That makes Harley Davidson stuff better, which I think it's definitely gotten better in the last few years since Indian's been a big player. And it means that Indian has to stay on the gas too and keep on creating better stuff. So I'm going to compile all my notes. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about both bikes, and I'm going to give you my ultimate winner and the reasons why I think that is. So unfortunately, I had some data corruption, so the outro of this video I had to reshoot. So let's start with this. There's one thing that I left out in this comparison, and that is the price. Now, as tested, these bikes really aren't quite apples to apples. The Indian I had has an MSRP of $33,499, and the Harley came in at $28,349. Now, if we added the blackout treatment to the Harley, then it becomes $29,699. And then if I add the audio package to match what the Indian had, which I didn't talk about in the comparison because, again, both bikes weren't equally equipped, but that jumps the Harley price up to $32,209. Now, I could go the other way. I could also configure the Chieftain to match a little closer to the Harley by going with a 108 limited model in black, and that would have an MSRP of $27,499. And in that case, we'd lose the audio to match the Harley, but we'd also lose our rear radar system and our brake hold system that we have. But it would come in less than the Street Glide. Now, because of the multiple configurations of each bike, I really wanted to focus on the riding experience. That includes the tech that they offer, since it is pretty similar between the two of them. But when it comes down to it, I think they're both great bikes, and I'd be proud to own either one. I think the Harley sounds better, and it has better function with the screen and the Apple CarPlay connectivity. I was really impressed with how well that screen works and how many buttons it has on the handlebars, so I can easily access things that I might want to change while I'm riding it. But where it matters most to me, I think the Indian comes out a little ahead. It rides better. It rides hands down better than the Harley. It makes more horsepower and out accelerates the Street Glide. And if we had the 108, that would yield the same results. It's only a 4 horsepower difference between the 112 and 108. When it comes down to dealer network, Harley does still take it, although they are losing dealers, not gaining them. Indian is still growing, but since recording this was delayed, we now know that they're going to fall under a new company in 2026, and that is scary for some. Up until today, I would have said that they're gaining dealers every year. I guess we'll just have to wait to see what the future holds for them now. They're both built to high standards and to high quality. I do think the Harley Davidson edges out Indian slightly with fit and finish, but I do think that they're both very acceptable and a very high quality bike. But ultimately, if I had to choose one, I would go with the Chieftain and its better ride, more confident handling, and better performing Power Plus engine. I really did enjoy my time on both bikes and think you need to determine what's important to you when you're looking at purchasing one of these for yourself. They're both great options, and I'm glad we have choice when it comes to American-made motorcycles. With all that said, let me know what you think. I'm sure there's going to be some very animated people out there, especially if you made it all the way through this video, which took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. But if you are still here, thanks for watching until the end. Let me know what you pick. Are you a Harley guy? Are you an Indian guy? Were you a Harley guy that converted to an Indian? Did you buy an Indian then go back to Harley Davidson? So there's no right or wrong answer here. I like what I like for my reasons, and you like what you like for your reasons. We can still go out and ride together. So leave a comment below. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button, especially if you watched all the way through the end. You must like something that you saw. And as always, don't forget to enjoy the ride. We'll see you on the next one. Now, start arguing down in the comments.